Hey everybody, we are back for another episode of Career Journeys. Today I'm with Kiana with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about your role with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum?
Yeah, director of marketing and community partnerships. It's been a whirlwind journey, but excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like your day to day. You have a lot of different things going on, not only, focused on preservation of cultural history, but also forward looking, cultural development. So tell me a little bit about all the responsibilities and things you get to do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it's so cool, right? Like we're two national institutions in Kansas City, and in the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum being one. And every day I get a joy out of coming to Buck O'Neill's museum and seeing it flourish. And who knew a tiny one-room office here in Kansas City, Missouri, would reach national prominence? And so every day looks different for me. As you said, one day I'm with MLB players who are wanting to visit the museum, and then the next day I'm talking to visitors here in Kansas City that are local. And what I think is so amazing, to your credit and to your point, the cultural crossroads and the sectors that the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is able to drive and promote and bring people together, which is community, convening community. And the Negro Leagues is literally a civil rights story just told through the lens of baseball. And that's what I do every single day in historic 18th and Vine.
Yeah, well, and I love, seeing what the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum has started out as, and then even seeing it in its past 5 years with you leading some of the marketing efforts. You've seen this massive expansion into more community elements. So maybe tell me a little bit about your guys' mindset of the last few years and to how to make the museum even more culturally relevant, so that more people could learn about the story, but also, take the lessons into the future with them.
Yeah, whether it's our Coffee with Champions series, whether it's with our groundbreaking partnership with Sony, with MLB The Show, video game, bringing the history to the future generation and not waiting for people to come here to Kansas City. Because we do understand not a lot of people, number one, are aware that there's any institution dedicated nationally to celebrating America's pastime, which is baseball, or just what we do every single year with our annual programming, the Heart of America Hot Dog Festival, literally reaching crazy, crazy amounts of people, but through the love of baseball and hot dogs, right? They're both synonymous. So I think what we have tried to do, if people haven't saw or they haven't been able to witness or be on the other side of it, is if we can't get you through coming to the physical museum, maybe we can reach you through a beer in partnership with Boulevard. Maybe we can reach you through whiskey with Jay Rieger. All local Kansas City brands, but just elevating the partnership and the cultural awareness with the museum and trying to reach everybody that we can. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that, not just being a museum for museum's sake, right? But really trying to think of innovative ways to reach everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you guys have done an amazing job, and obviously taking advantage of the growth of Kansas City too, right? And so
Absolutely.
now the museum is starting to scale, and not only have you guys done a really great job at making sure to focus on cultural stories of the past and how that relates to what comes next, but also you've been integral in helping revive and revitalize a really important area in our city in 18th and Vine. So I really love that what you guys are doing, obviously. So tell me about your journey from, school. Obviously, you got your MBA here at UMKC, but then getting into your position with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and then making the impact you've had because you've become, a really great leader in that space and a thought leader in the space. But when you first started in that role, I'm sure you were still learning the ropes. So
For
what
sure.
was that journey like coming into the role, coming out of school, and then becoming, who you are today?
Yeah, I did it backwards because I started with the museum before the MBA program, to
Mm,
your point. And so it was during COVID, unfortunately. So that it wasn't normal for anybody,
mm.
unfortunately, at that time. But really was able to, I think, number one, network, understand the city first. And then when I landed at the museum, you wanted more in terms of just the educational value. And I think the UMKC Bloch institution is one of those iconic Kansas City educational institutions that really elevate what Henry Block has done for not only Kansas City, but how he reached back, how he gave back, making opportunities for all of us, for the future generation of Kansas City, and how it all intersects. So when you learn his story, you learn Kansas City, they both intersect together, but also understanding for me, man, I'm inspired. I want to learn, I want to grow. And so reaching here, landing here was just such a crazy time because again, the world was shut down. I can't emphasize that more. And we were hybrid. So it really wasn't a traditional MBA program, but really being able to come to campus during that time when we were hybrid, and really meet the instructors, really see their their grit, their determination to get this done, right? Like we want our students to learn. We're here for the long haul. This is just a curveball, no pun intended, in the educational process, but we're going to make sure you get your MBA. We're going to make sure we show up when we can and help you. And so I was able to see a different side of the campus, really, to be honest. And the human side of not only our facilitators, the instructors, but really being able to see like, man, this is really putting to the test of what the values and the mission of this institution stands for. And it was during a global pandemic. And so eventually I got on the other side, to your point, and graduated. And what a beautiful day it was. And it made you appreciate the moment that much more because I'm coming to night classes. Meanwhile, Buck O'Neill's going into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So, it's like working, 10 hours a day. And then, oh my gosh, I got night class. And so it was a really iconic year during 2022. And then, of course, I rounded out and graduated, but I don't even know where to start. I mean, I look back and it was all a blur, but such a great way to capture my experience here.
Yeah, well, and I think one of the things that, I admire about you that I think has been a big piece of what you've done is like your passion and the way that you take your job serious, right? Like I think a lot of us, when we're trying to find our career or what we want to do, it's easier to just be a little bit more blasé about stuff when you find something that you truly care about and you know the value, like someone like getting behind someone like Buck. When you know his story is, an easy thing to do, but then to put work behind it, like I love seeing that, your passion, gets to like fully, like, seeing you get to make that impact and push the organization forward has been awesome. So maybe tell me a little bit about some of the skills and mindsets that you think that really helped shape you to be
Sure.
ready for this role, right? To be able to, to go to bat, so to say,
Mhm.
for the organization and make sure that, the Negro Leagues has been an esteemed establishment for many years, but you had to come back in and help it to craft a kind of a new angle to it. So what were the skills and mindsets that help you like make that a reality?
Just humbling myself. Number one, saying I don't know everything. I had to learn. I'm not a baseball historian, clearly. So just going back and understanding baseball's historical roots, and foundational structure here in Kansas City. I mean, you can't talk about baseball and our Kansas City Royals without not mentioning the Kansas City Monarchs, without not mentioning Jackie Robinson, who got his groundbreaking start here in 1945 before he broke Major League Baseball's color barrier in 1947. So all these things that Kansas City hangs its hat on, jazz, barbecue, baseball, right, all originated here in Kansas City. And when you work backwards historically, you then understand the true appreciation for how we all love our city and then how the Negro Leagues play a part in that and how the history of Kansas City really elevates the story because again you cannot talk about sports in our city and leave out such an iconic historical reference to what made Kansas City great, which is baseball. And so I think being humbled, secondly getting out, meeting people in the community, understanding again we are a historical museum, so there are things about your story that will never change, but it's about how you elevate it. How do you reach people where they are? How do you make sure, if this guy's used to get his mail every year, he doesn't get an email blast because he doesn't have email. How can we still also be innovative, but still meet people where they are and make people feel like they're a part of our story? So I think me being humbled, trying to reach people where they are, trying to help figure out how can we communicate, how can we continue to elevate while being true to the museum and true to the story. That's been a huge key, especially during this time where cultural museums are probably more important now than ever before, in terms of telling the story, being that truth to a forgotten part of American history. So really just trying to make sure that I'm being open-minded, listening first, speaking second, and then understanding like in order to be great at something, sometimes you have to say I don't know. So I hope, when people look and see over the last 6 years, it's been okay. There was an area that I had to be quiet for a little bit, and I had to take a step back and learn. And I think I've done a great job at that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, one of the things that you get to do that's so exciting is like you're a director of marketing. Obviously there's marketing jobs in a lot of different types of industries and everything else, but you get to work in a space that a lot of people think is so cool, right? Like you're in sports, you're in entertainment, you're in, cultural icon. So maybe you could talk to me about like what some of the attributes are for students today that you would help them see as important if they wanted to go into careers, whether it's an accountant or a marketer, but going into institutions that matter to them, right? Like you get to work in a place that you're so passionate about. So what would that advice be to those students to say like, hey, what attributes should they start working on? What are the things that could get them prepared so they could go into institutions to do what they're great at, but work at places that they really find passionate?
For sure. Number one, never settle for anything that's always going to make you money. Money is important. We all need it to grow and live, and money is just a tool. Is what I'm learning at 30 right now, coming out of the block program, probably now being 4 years removed from it. I would encourage students to network. That's going to get you in places that not a lot of resumes will, to be truthful, in this day and age. And I think valuing sometimes picking up the phone, sometimes talking to people. That's a lost art in this generation and in our, in the times that you and I even live in, right? It's so easy to send an email. It's so easy sometimes to send a text message, but we've lost the verbal communication of what it's like to have a face-to-face interaction. And so I think for me, being in a space where you have to still have those soft skills without having a choice, it's really allowed me to still be successful while following my passion, while doing the things that I love. But also you gotta know how to talk to owners. You gotta know how to talk to executives. And so honing in on, number one, how can I position myself to put myself in those rooms, networking, understanding, you're not gonna know everything, you're not gonna meet everybody, but you'll never miss out on something that's meant for you. And that's always been my mindset. Any space, any opportunity that's come across me, it's always been, is this gonna be something I'm gonna enjoy? If I'm not probably going to enjoy it, probably not going to be a great thing to say yes to long term, because again, we want to do everything, but understanding there's only 24 hours in a day. So let's figure out what are the top 10 things I love. And I would just say, follow your passion. Never do anything just because. Do it with me and
Yeah,
passion.
with intent. I love that. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was confidence, right? So, working in things that you love, you find more confidence in, but I think confidence is something a lot of us struggle with, whether it's, because of socioeconomic status or whatever else, the lens is put on us by society. So what are some of the ways that you have helped build that confidence in yourself? Because, the job that you're doing with the museum is pretty unique, right? Like you're kind of trailblazing a little bit where you're kind of making things that didn't exist before. And so to do that, you have to have an element of confidence, but that confidence had to come from somewhere. So what would some of that advice be for students that are trying to build confidence before they even feel like they have a resume to even stand up on?
Right, because I didn't, right? And so age is nothing but a number. And that would be the number one thing I would stress and emphasize more. You can't allow your age to define what you're great at. And if you've reached those heights, and it maybe took the generation before us, 45, 50, well, if you're 30, 35 and you got it, go for it, right? Because I think sometimes society identifies this still traditional way of means and success, the white picket fence. This generation, we're not so much doing that, right? Success is defined different in terms of how we go about blazing those paths. If you are able to run a company at 35, then you should be afforded that opportunity to do so, not because you needed to wait until you hit 45 and 50 that deems the societal norms, but because you love it, you're qualified and you have the skill set. And I think that would be the number one thing I would share that I find so interesting in intergenerational conversations is, the world is changing, society's changing. Our generation is helping redefine and reshape and reimagine what education looks like, what society looks like, what job looks like, what marketing looks like, what community impact looks like. All those things make for a greater society. And so I think here at UMKC, it's shown through the passion, the dedication. Everything starts from the top. And so if you don't have a great leader, unfortunately, those things don't trickle down. And so I think this institution and leadership, everything that we've seen, Mr. Bloch, I guess hang his hat on, so to speak, in Kansas City and the legacy that he's left. Now students are able to have that platform to do that. But again, number is just an age. Don't let, the things that come before you redefine or define what you can do or what you shouldn't do. Just go for it.
Yeah. So tell me what, if you had some key lessons that really like came to light for you over the last few years, what are some like key lessons that have really made themselves clear to you over your time in this position?
That's a loaded question. Where do I start? I think number one, you're always not going to have the answers to everything. Number two, you're always going to make mistakes. And number three, you have to get up every day and see it and start all over. There's many days where you find yourself beating yourself up because you missed something, or why did I not say this, or I said this the wrong way, or maybe I didn't execute that the way that I thought. Because again, to your point, high level thinking, critical thinking, all the things that it takes to operate at a very high level. And if you're deemed to make mistakes, and I think for us in this generation and age, we want to get it right. And sometimes getting it right, you're moving, or trying to get it right, you're moving a million miles per hour, and we're fast, 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 but slowing down. So just giving yourself grace. I think that's the number one thing that kind of goes back to this conversation, and what I have thought about over time that's allowed me to still, get up to see another day. We're human. We're all going through stuff. And in spite of, all of us are showing up to contribute to a larger community, a larger picture. And I hope that that's something that resonates with people. You're not going to know everything. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And yes, the museum is a great opportunity with Director of Marketing, Community Engagement, but I hope wherever I land, wherever I go, this is something that I'll take with me. It's just the values and the morals.
Yeah. Last thing that we've been asking people is to give advice. If any students are watching this, this will be, in classrooms, in Bloch school. A lot of times there's, you're taking a lot of information, right, as a student. So what is one piece of advice you would give to a student watching this today, if you were going to be sharing with them how to go about, building the life that they want for themselves?
Yeah, study hard when you need to study, even when you don't want to study. Eat those meals, sleep when you need to sleep, because sleep is important just as much as studying. And when it's time to have fun, just have fun. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate things. You're going to be successful no matter what. The things that I wish in my 20s I spent the most time thinking about, I look back now at 30 with still so much life ahead of me than behind me. And I'm like, that was really not worth the thought. That was really not worth the stress. So eat, sleep, study hard. And when it's time to party, go party. Probably shouldn't say that, but
No, I love it. You got to work hard and play hard. And,
correct.
the thing that I really love that you mentioned, I think a lot of us can embody, with all the shiny things happening in social media, all this stuff, it's easy to say yes to so much, right? But doing things with intent, protecting and respecting your own time, protecting and respecting the things that you want to do. And you said, like, when you move a million miles a minute, you're just saying yes to everything and doing everything. But if you slow down and you do things with intent, you're more bound to pull things into your orbit that you're destined for versus just things that have just come to you, right?
Correct.
So I love that you've shown that, and like your career has really shown people that, one, there are not only people that have something to offer, that can offer things to something that's been around for so long that can grow even more. But then additionally is like breaking the mold and showing people that, like, you don't have to do things a certain way or be a certain age or be a certain character, to execute the things that you care about, right? So I really love that, and I obviously am a huge fan of the museum and what you guys are doing. So
Yeah, we're up. Thanks
yeah,
for having me.
yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you.